A teacher or thinking about becoming one, these truths might change the profession. Welcome to the Teacher's Impact Podcast, or better yet known as The Tip, where teachers can come to master their craft, use their voice, and enhance student learning. On this episode, we'll be talking about the 7 truths about teaching that no one prepares you for. All right, so just a quick story on how I got into teaching. Started actually in high school. So I was a high school student in history class, and my teacher suggested that I become a teacher. And I said, no way, because they don't get paid enough. I actually said this, right? This was in high school. Little did I know that I would be pursuing my teachers after business school. So I went to college, I went to business school, got a job, and I was working and I just didn't feel very fulfilled. And I thought to myself that maybe I should give teaching a try. And I think it's one of the best decisions that I've made. It's been a lot of years of me teaching, but it's been well worth it. So again, on this episode, I'll be just sharing some real truth about teaching that you're not going to see in textbooks or you're not going to hear about in your teacher training. Okay, so the first truth is that there will always be challenging or difficult students. So throughout your career, every class is going to be different. Some years you'll have a great classroom and some years you'll have not so great classes. But one thing is for sure, in every class, you will have students that are going to challenge you. You will have those difficult students. It will make you want to pull your hair out, as it has done for me. But I think if you look at it as an opportunity for growth, it will make you an even better teacher. I had a student that was very outspoken and felt the need to disagree with me for everything. And I guess it's not so much that he disagreed with me. It's the fact that I felt like it was causing a disruption to my instruction. And a day I was teaching and, in my flow and everything. And he, with the disagreeing again, and I said something to him. I forgot what I said to him, but I know I said something to him and he started to cry. And I was like, okay, it was about to be over anyway. So I said, I'm going to speak to him privately. So I pulled him aside and I told him that I didn't like it that you were always disagreeing with me and causing a disruption. And I said, again, it's not the fact that you're disagreeing with me. It's the fact that when you're disagreeing with me, it's causing a disruption. I said, I'm sorry. I don't want to see you crying and upset about the situation. And he looked like his face. He looked like he started feeling better once I apologized to him. But when I looked back at it, when I reflected, I realized that I was taking it personally that he was disagreeing with me, when in reality, that's thinking, did he know how to express those feelings in an appropriate manner? No, because again, it's a first grade classroom. And once I realized this, I said, okay, again, it's okay if he disagrees with me, but I have to teach him a way to disagree with a disruption during instruction, right? And so going back to those challenging students, you're going to have a student every year that challenges you. This is just one small example. I mean, I've had more severe challenges. I've had more disruptive behavior, but I wanted to just share a quick example with you of how you're going to have those challenging students, and you just have to self-reflect and say, okay, well, what am I missing? Is there something that I can change? Am I taking something personally? Truth number 2, you'll never be fully prepared. And I cannot agree with this statement so much. And sometimes if you're a teacher, well, for me, myself, I always want to be prepared. You're told that you need to over-prepare to make sure that you can handle anything that's thrown at your way. But what I've realized with teaching is that teaching is always changing. There's always something new to learn, to always something to implement. Students come with different personalities and backgrounds, and you just have to be able to adapt and adjust to the situation. You may have prepared, you've planned the best lesson, and you come to school and you realize the copy machine is down or the internet is down. So you have to look and you have to readjust and say, okay, how can I make this lesson effective if the copy machine is down, if the printer is down, okay? Or you may have a student that's totally throwing your lesson off for a loop and you have to stop and you have to come back around. So you're just never going to be prepared. This is something that I'm working on myself. I just have to realize that I'm never going to be prepared. I'm never going to be fully prepared. I can be prepared the best way that I can, but if something comes up in the classroom, in the lesson, I have to adapt and I have to adjust, right? Truth number 3, emotional labor. I feel like this is a truth that no one talks about, that no one really talks about it, is the emotional toll of teaching. So when I say emotional labor, I mean that care, that deep care that you have for your students, but at the same time, you have to enact those personal boundaries. So just a quick example. Sometimes you'll have those tough conversations with a struggling student that can weigh on your mind long after you've left the school. So I had a student that was going through a really rough time at home with a babysitter. And I was happy that she was able to share what she was going through with me. I was happy that she could trust me to tell me, because the symptom of it was that she was acting out in class. And I'm like, well, this is a student that doesn't act out, but she was acting out. And I'm like, something's wrong. And she shared with me that, there was some things going on at home that she alone couldn't handle it herself. And the story that she told me, it was like, it was heartbreaking. And I just, it just really did something to me. What I did do was I sent her to the counselor so that she could speak to her, but it stayed with me. And I've stayed up nights thinking about ways like, how could I help my students that are struggling, the academic, how am I going to bring them up? I'm waking up in the middle of if I wake up in the middle of the night, that's one of the thoughts that I'm thinking. So the emotional labor is real. It's so real when it comes to teaching. And sometimes you find the positive side of it is that you do find another solution. And other times, that those emotional things, just it stays with you. So going back to talking about those personal boundaries, trying to condition your mind to let those things go, to process them and to make sure to let them go so it doesn't stay with you for years. You worry about your students, you think about them all the time, but you have to draw a line and just remember that you need to be present. Okay, truth number 4. Data is a double-edged, and it surely is. So data is so helpful with instruction. Okay, you can use data to help you form your groups, helping your students to grow. And I talk about data in my previous episode, which is part of Differentiate Instruction series. You can check that episode out, which is episode numbers 80, 81. Okay, and 80, 81, and 82. So be sure to check those out. So the back to data being a double-edged sword is so much data: school-wide data, diagnostic data, classroom tests, all kinds of data. We have so much data available to us compared to as in the past, now that everything is online. And especially if you teach all the subjects like English language arts, math, science, social studies, you have data for all those subject areas. If you're an upper grade elementary teacher, sometimes you have data for over 60 to 80 students. So it's so much, it gets so overwhelming, right? But we do have to use this data. We do have to use it to our advantage. Some tips for just keeping all this data in perspective without losing focus on the students behind the data, because there is students, there is personalities, there is uh, things going on with students behind that data. One of the things that I do is I make sure when I'm working with my students in a small group, I'm really observing them. When you're doing whole group, it's a little bit harder because you have more kids that you're looking at, you're scanning the room. But when you're in small group, you can really get a gist to see like how those students are doing. Okay, so it could be something as simple as, oh, your handwriting is getting so much better, or you see them helping another student that's sitting next to them, and you notice them having a growth mindset. So just noticing those little things, though, that is data. Is it data that you have from a diagnostic test and everything is in charts and graphs and tables? No, but it's those little things that you notice that's going to help you to keep that data in perspective. Like, yes, there's a person, there's an individual, there's a student behind these numbers. Another tip is, pick one or two data sources that you're going to use throughout the year to measure growth. Okay, again, we have so much data, but I try to pick one or two that I know I'm going to use to measure growth throughout the year. It helps to just it helps to reduce the amount of data that you're looking at, right? And if you really want to compare, then you have those other data that you can look at. All right. Last tip for data: don't forget to use qualitative data such as progress notes and observations. It has the word data in it, but again, the stories, or when you're taking notes about your students, the anecdotes that you see, that's a form of data, right? And don't forget about that, because it's going to help you to put things into perspective. Truth number 5: your impact goes beyond the classroom. So we know that students remember their teachers for life, not just for what we taught them or what you taught them, but feel. And a former student came up to me after school to say hello. I told him that I heard that he did really well on his state assessment and that he should keep up the good work, because I was proud of him. And he said to me, it was because of you that I did well. I was so shocked. And I was shocked because I had this student in first grade and he's now in fifth grade. He took his test in fourth grade. And I was just so surprised that he said this, but it just goes to show you that your impact goes beyond the classroom. And again, this was a state test, but I'm thinking, this was first grade. What did I teach you in first grade that will help you to do well on your test, right? So the impact is it's so lasting. Truth number 6: you'll need a strong support system. Teaching can be so isolating if you don't need support. There's been times when I've cried to the teacher next door about things that I'm going through at school. I talk to my dad at least a couple of times a week when things are great and not so great at school. It just helps me to keep things in perspective. So what I will tell you is just try to build relationships with people you can trust at school. Maybe a teacher in your grade level, or a mentor, or your loved ones. Okay? And it'll just help you to remember that there is more to life than teaching. Okay, build connections with other educators, mentors, and loved ones, because it's going to give you that support when you're not having a good day, or when you want to share a success in the classroom. Truth number 7: self-care is not optional. All right, so burnout is a real thing. I've experienced it. you're passionate about what you want to take on a lot of things at school, a lot of responsibilities. But you just have to remember that there is life outside of school and teaching. One of the things that you can do is develop that will help you to feel relaxed and energized. And one of the things that I do is after a particularly long day, you can ask yourself the question, what do I need to feel better? What do I need to give myself right now so that I can feel better? Don't compromise on it. A quick tip is just find one small self-care routine daily. A quick example, I like to drink tea. So after school, I come home, I relax, I drink tea. I was watching something on YouTube or Instagram, and they were saying how teachers sit in their cars after work because it helps them to decompress. I do this, and I think that's self-care because you're just giving your just decompress because there's been so much coming to you during the school day. You don't have that time to just have a moment of peace and quiet where nobody's asking you for anything. So sitting in my car, when I get out of my car, putting my stuff away and just drinking my tea. Okay, so that's self-care. All right, so key from this episode. Truth number 1, there'll always be challenging and difficult students. Truth number 2, you'll never be fully prepared. Truth number 3, emotional labor is real. Truth number 4, data is a double-edged sword. Truth number 5, your impact goes beyond the classroom. Truth number 6, you'll need a strong support system. Truth number 7, self-care is not optional. So teaching can be challenging, but when you see that student who wasn't reading before is reading now, or able to complete that math problem independently, or they're so excited about science, this is what makes all the difference in the world. So I want you to share your own truth about teaching on podcast or in a review of the podcast. Please feel free to let me know. You guys are so quiet out there. I never really hear from the listeners, but I definitely want to hear from you. No judgment. Feel free to write your own truths on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, or in a review. All right, so thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, share with your teacher friends, and happy learning and growing.